Hey, it's Debbie Dairy Bear here, the voice of Zatch Bell, introducing you to the Anime Egotists channel. Glad you could be here. Zatch Bell is glad you could be here. Enjoy!
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where we know who's got the power.
Yes, we do.
Yes, my name's Alex, and as much as I love fish, I don't think I could unhinge my jaw and eat a whole yellowtail. I think.
I probably could, but it'd have to be very fresh. I'm Richard.
That's correct. And you notice we've made more Zatch Bell references than we usually do, and you guys kind of know how this works by this point.
Exactly. So, we're kind of doing this in kind of similar style as a couple of our previous videos, a more creative video.
Yeah, that's right. Because, look, as much as everybody would want to be Zatch and Kyo or Concho Man Fulgore, that's not necessarily how that works. Sometimes you're stuck with who you're stuck with. And in my opinion, it's a lot more interesting to come up with your own ideas. So we've decided to do a Zatch Bell video where we create our own Mamodo.
Exactly. So we also created ourselves, but I think the main focus is going to be on our Mamodo and their powers and all that.
Exactly. Hey, and yes, we did, and just as a heads up, I'm sorry, we're going to be talking primarily about the dub, because if we talk, I know some of you wants to talk about the sub, and then some people wants to talk about the manga, just all this other sorts of stuff, but the dub's funnier, so I don't know. If you let us know if the sub is worth it, because so far I'm watching it and it seems pretty great, but just let us know. And we're trying our best with these spell names. Believe me, we tried our hardest. We have a Zatch Bell superfan, in our comments, so hopefully they'll give us a passing grade. But anyways, let's get started with our Mamodo.
All right. So, do you want to go ahead and start us off?
Start us off, buddy.
All right. So, I guess I'll start with my character first, since that'll be kind of easier. So I've made myself a little bit older, since, at least in the English dub, I don't know about the sub, but I assume it's the same. Kyo and his friends are middle school aged.
You're always making yourself older in these videos.
But in this case, I'm only a few years older. According to Wikipedia, or the wiki, Kyo is 14. I've made myself kind of 16, 17, somewhere around there. I'm older, I'm in high school, and I'm actually, so I made myself a member, and then I guess later on captain of the school swim team, which is a weird thing, but it'll come back once I start talking about my Mamodo. The way I first before I meet my Mamodo, I meet Kyo and all his friends through like Susie and Kane and all that, is I go to their school to help try to recruit them to come to my high school. I've just put that episode in like the earlier part, but I have not yet met my Mamodo at this point.
Okay.
Do you want to introduce yourself? That's kind of all I have for myself, really.
Sure, that's fine. And so my character is about the age of Kyo and friends, but the difference is I'm not fully in school right now. Now, similar to a lot of other people in real life, my family ends up traveling a good amount of the time. Sometimes I'm with my parents, sometimes I'm with my grandparents, but overall, I don't really get the chance to meet and befriend a lot of people. Not that that stops me from trying, but at the same time, I'm kind of thinking to myself, all this seeing the world thing, this exploring, seeing everything, it's kind of boring. And in the sense of me thinking, all this stuff is nice, but I don't really have that many people to share it with, because my parents are always working, and it can get lonely.
Okay. And do you know Kyo beforehand, or do you meet them throughout this, or anything?
When I make a stop in Japan and I do meet them, I don't really learn that much about them. I kind of just see I see Kyo once when he's kind of a grump before the series starts, but I also see like every now and then I'll just see him at the convenience store or something, and I'll see his friends with him, and I'm like, oh, good for him.
All right. All right. So I guess now for the real meat of this. So I meet my Mamodo in the middle of the summer. It's during a heat wave, and my Mamodo, his name is Ymir. He is ice snow based Mamodo, and he's actually passed out because it's an extremely hot day, and he's in this parka like clothes, and he's just passed out from the heat. That's how I meet him. I take him home to kind of let him cool off and recover because no one else seems to want to help him at this point. And he kind of just decides to start living with my family because reasons. That seems like a lot of how the Mamotos seem to work.
Well, if he said he didn't want to, then your story would end really quickly, and the video we would be signing off really fast.
But the way that we kind of discovered that I'm his book owner is one day during swim practice, I get out of the pool while because he's followed me to practice, and he's doesn't really understand the whole idea because being this ice-based, snow-based Mamodo, he's not used to warm temperatures, so he doesn't really understand the whole swimming thing. And I end up casting the spell through the book, and it freezes the pool with the rest of the swim team in it. And we're just so confused. And again, it's more played off, I view, for jokes of people just randomly frozen. Not that they are actually hurt, but they're just comedic poses and stuff in the ice.
Man, I should have made my Mamodo a lawyer.
But so how did you meet your Mamodo?
All right. Well, I'm actually glad we have similar stories, but at the same time, I'd like to think it's a little bit different. But I meet my Mamodo actually during a fire.
Okay.
There's a fire in a building, but my Mamodo's not moving. My Mamodo's watching everything. So, I meet my Mamodo by the name of Rikioka, which is it's the combined Japanese names for strength and shadow. And Rikioka is actually a girl.
Okay.
Yeah. But she's kind of it's kind of one of those things where she's she's sort of stood up, but she's not really reacting to anything. So I grab her and and get her away from the building. And the people in charge of the building say, "Hey, that girl caused this." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Just get her out of here." It's very much a case of we're going if you don't do something, we're gonna deal with her. So I take her back home without anybody knowing, and as she wakes up, she kind of backs off from me, and she is hostile. And I'm like, "Hey, it's cool, it's okay. Your leg looks kind of bruised." And she's slowly kind of like, "Why are you being nice to me?" I'm like, "I don't know. You're not. Everybody blames you, but you're not a demon. You're just a little girl," which makes it all the funnier that they're actually called demons in the Japanese version. But we meet, and she doesn't fully understand me. She's kind of cold and closed off.
Okay. So, I guess, does your Mamodo have any sort of goal to be a kind king or whatever it is that they're?
Well, her powers are smoke.
Okay, interesting.
Not fire, smoke. And when she was in the Mamodo world, unlike Zatch, she could control her powers, but a lot of people were kind of freaked out because smoke's not something that just goes away. If you smoke's something you almost can't fully control, so a lot of people kind of pushed her away. But the one Mamodo who kind of gave her a chance and tried to be her friend to get her to open up was Kalulu. So when Kalulu kind of opened up and said, if we have to go down and fight, I don't want to fight. I want our ruler to be somebody nice. And Rikioka's kind of doesn't know how to open up. And by the time she seems like she might want to, everybody gets sent down.
Okay. Yeah, I came up with a little bit of for Ymir as well, with, their goal. Um, so his is actually connected with the first or the previous Mamodo battle. His mom managed to stop one of a very dark Mamodo who actually uses darkness magic to turn himself into a massive, super strong monster from getting from winning several battles and almost becoming king. But it cost her a chance to compete as well. But he attacks his family to try to let his son become the next Mamodo king, hoping to get revenge against the family that ended his chance to become king. And then, but this happens pretty much right before Ymir gets sent to the human world, and he doesn't even necessarily want to become king. His whole goal is more along the lines of wanting to be, just at first, it's to prevent this other Mamodo. I didn't come up with a name or anything for them, but from them becoming king. It's his one goal is at the start is to become them. And I would say eventually, I don't know when, but eventually he would defeat this the Mamodo and send them back, and then we get more of his goal adapting and more fitting in line with the protagonist. He doesn't necessarily want to be king, but he wants to make sure that the king that is brought in is kind and just, and that kind of is his character growth. Again, I didn't have a good way of fully planning this out, but I could see it taking place over kind of these intro arcs in the first season and then the Ancient Mamodo arc.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking for my Mamodo, and as I was saying before, like I think it kind of works for us because it was stated that there's a good amount of Mamodo that kind of just want to live their lives or however whatever it is they're doing. So while she's not out looking, we're not out looking for fights. It is a case of if we have to take somebody down, we'll do it. But our personalities conflict. She's kind of cold and doesn't trust people, while I'm a little more lively and willing to talk to anybody.
Interesting. Yeah, I also had a kind of headbutting thing, which again has to do with me being a member of the swim team in my high school and all that. Is I like the summer, the spring, warmer temperatures and all that. And Ymir is very much focused on wanting to be like, let's make it snow. I like it cold in winter and all that. And we butt heads like if we decided on trying to do a vacation or something throughout the series.
Oh goodness, but yeah, I guess I guess in the case though, we should also just talk. Are there any other personality traits you gave? Because I gave quite a few to mine.
I know you already kind of said it, but I had also done that. Ymir started out closed off. He does open up, but I think that happens with a lot of the Mamodos. You see it in Tia, you see it in I think a little bit in Brago. He opens up throughout the series a little bit more again. So you might see it in a lot of these Mamodos not wanting to build a lasting friendship at first.
Yeah, but I feel like I tried to do different with Rikioka because I feel like she's very just kind of, I'm not going to say bland, but very monotone. Like it's just like, all right, seriously. So where'd you come from? And she's just like, don't really want to say. And I'm like, okay. Hey, do you have your parents with you? It's just like, no, they're not here. I'm like, all right, you kind of have to give me something to work with. And eventually, when we get attacked, at one point, I read her spell book, and the first spell just shoots out a giant amount of smoke. Okay, and at first, she's kind of like, oh, the one person who wanted to give me a chance, now he's going to be freaked out. I'm like, so you can do that? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that is so cool. And she's like, what? But seriously, can you do it again? It's just like you have to read the book. Look, and as soon as I'm about to do it, my parents are like, "Take that outside." We're happy to have her, but take her outside. And she kind of realizes these people are insane for just thinking, oh, it's just a random day at the park. Just find some girl who can shoot smoke. Look out. Her first spell being Keiredo.
Okay, yeah. With Ymir, he's a bit more open once he realizes that I'm his book owner. Once we get everybody thawed out from the when I froze the or what had him cast his first ice spell, which I have is pretty much just a ice beam spell one, which I used Yuki, which is snow in Japanese for most of my base spell stuff, and that's so it's I'm gonna really butcher this. I have a feeling. Yukirio, which blasts a stream of snow in a straight line. It's pretty much a lot like a lot of Mamodo's their first normal blast spell.
Yeah.
But he's more open. He talks to me about the Mamodo world and the battle to become king. As I said, he wants to become king because he feels that he's the only one that can prevent this other Dark Mamodo from becoming king, and that's his one goal is just, I have to win now because I have to stop them. That becomes his mindset, and as I said, that will change as we go through our kind of story arc.
Yeah. As for my Mamodo, she's very much in the sense of, I don't necessarily want to fight, but once we fight, I will fight until it's over. Even if we're outnumbered 100-1, I still want to keep fighting, and that's when I'm kind of like, look, and when I finally start to kind of understand, oh, when these books burn, they disappear too. I don't think you want to disappear yet, so I'm going to teach you something. And that's when the book starts to glow, and I'm like, all right, it's time for another spell. Just kidding. And then we just run off, and she's like, what are you doing? It's just like, sometimes it's better to run away and live to fight another day. We couldn't have beaten them all on our own. And she's just like, then why didn't we just run off? Why'd you have to get all dramatic with that? It's just like, I'm a showman. What do you expect? And she's just like, you're an idiot.
It's a good lesson that you don't. I guess you don't see that much. Maybe a little bit from Countryman for Glory, but really, other than that, it's the fight to the end. Look out! There is that other wind, Mamodo. That's the first villain.
Yeah, hide.
Do they ever come back? Because
they come back fun fact, they were an anime only character until I guess the mangaka decide, oh, let's put them in the manga, but they didn't do much in either series.
Okay, because I knew they came back in one episode where they kidnap all the friends and all that, but I couldn't remember if they came back in the Dark Mamodo arc or not as anything, because
No.
they survived that as well. It's like, so it looks like they're going to come back, but I haven't caught up fully on the series. I've done my best to watch and know what's going on.
I understand. But at one point when she finally starts to open up and be like, okay, yeah, there's this war going on. And at first she doesn't really get me, which is 90% of people I meet. But at the same time, she starts to realize he's my partner. And she kind of tells me, get up, let's face it. And we learn our second spell, Agasu Kemu, which is a smoke shield, but it stays still and absorbs attacks.
Okay. The way I had Ymir and I get our second spell was we actually, I'd say, kind of like halfway through, right after Kyo and Zatch come back from London, challenge them to a battle, and it's again, we're just at this point. Ymir is very much focused on he's just got to get stronger and stronger and try to get to that point where we can defeat the Dark Mamodo that I've been talking about. And this is another one I'm probably going to screw up. Gaian Yuki Akasu. Whatever. But pretty much it creates a axe out of snow that my Mamodo wields. And it's kind of starts out as just kind of almost like a hatchet in size.
Yeah.
But with his already normal, or I guess kind of super speed and strength that the Mamodos all seem to have as their base, is interesting. But pretty much we fight to a draw with Zatch and Q. Neither of us pass out or anything, but it's just we decide that neither of us decide to do this, and it's kind of Zatch gives one of his spiels about wanting to be a kind king, and it's enough for Ymir to decide not to continue the fight at that point.
Oh, well, it's good because I'm glad you have stuff with Zatch and Kyo because actually we do too. But I do like the axe sword. I do like the axe sword thing. I like it feels like we didn't get a lot of Mamodo whose spells turned into weapons. At least where I got in the anime.
Yeah, I know that I think there's one or two, and I took this from what I saw when I was creating it based on the wiki's description of everything. There's one or two Mamodos that kind of use this sort of spell. So I was like, okay, this is something that's not used too much.
Yeah. Yeah. But we actually end up meeting Zatch and Kyo and we go up against them because at first they kind of believe, wait, all these attacks are happening. And of course they look at my Mamodo and think, she's not the friendliest person, so maybe she has something to do with it. And at one point, while they're battling, they say, hey, Zatch goes into a spiel. I want to become a kind king because of what my friend Kalulu taught me. And she stopped, and Rikioka stops. She's like, Kalulu? You knew about her? And like that kind, it's kind of at the point where she realizes I wasn't the closest with Kalulu at first, but anybody who she considers a friend can't be that bad. So that's at the point where she's kind of like, you know what, mate? Where she actually tells me we don't need to fight anymore. We'll forfeit. I'm like, are you sure? I mean, they seem like nice guys, but she's like, I'm sure. And that's kind of at the point where she's like, I don't want to be a kind king necessarily, but she also kind of realizes some opponents can just we'll all have to fight each other at some point, but they don't seem like bad people.
Yeah, so I like that it seems like Zatch has helped both of our Mamodos kind of but that happens with a lot of the, I guess, good Mamodos that they partner up with.
Yeah. But also have a story where I feel like this never got brought up in Zatch Bell, and I'm kind of taking this from Chobits, but in the sense of she really doesn't know that much about Earth. Like, we get into an argument about something, it's just like, look, I understand you want to train all the time, but I've had a long day of figuring stuff out. I just want to relax, have some R&R, and just have a milkshake or something. And she's like, what is that? R&R? No. What is that milkshake? I'm like, you're joking. And she's like, no. 10 minutes later, I'm like, all right, here you go. Try it. And she drinks it. She's like, this is the best thing I've ever had.
Oh, God. But I did have kind of how it seems like every Mamodo kind of gets obsessed with something about the human world. Zatch has got his kid cartoons and stuff like that. Tia gets obsessed with Megumi and her music. Kanchime gets obsessed with Folgori's music.
As he should.
Ymir really likes just all genres of music, but it's one of those he gets obsessed with one song for like a week at a time, and it's just kind of random. But
that's me at work.
Yeah, but he was telling me about like some of the other Mamodo that he's met that are kind of and just to let me know, and he talks about like Kanchime and Folgori, and because Folgori's from Italy, I don't really know him, but this just happens to be the week that Ymir is obsessed with Folgori's music, and he just it's one of those like, here, listen, you must listen kind of thing.
I had almost the opposite actually for me. Whenever she sees a dancing Mamodo or singing Mamodo, because they're going back and watching, there are a lot of Mamodo who like to sing and dance. And she wants to blast them right away, but at first I'm the one who's like, I don't know, I kind of like them. But as it keeps happening, we do rock, paper, scissors, and whenever she beats me, we attack them while they're dancing.
So you literally break up the dancing scenes all the time.
It's like when Android 17 attacked people while they were transforming, and they're just like, you're not supposed to do that, and she's just like, you lost it. It's the rule.
All right. So, how? I guess, what is your third spell, and how did it kind of unlock?
The third spell, Kemuburu. It's a cloning technique, and she's the only one who looks normal while the others just look like versions of her covered in smoke. So it's not exactly a which one's the real one sort of thing, but they're able to charge and attack of their own volition. And this is kind of and she kind of gains this when, like we've said, I've talked about before, Mamodo can train and get better, but they get learn new spells through like becoming better people alongside their partner. Where it's at one point, I just tell her, "Look, I appreciate that you want to train every day, but we trust me, you're going to burn out at some point." And while she collapses after a battle, I take her home, tuck her in, and as I'm about to fall asleep, I'm like, "Wait a minute, a new spell," and that's what it teaches her. And it kind of just showing, look, it's nice to work hard and push yourself, but you need to relax, otherwise it's going to kill you.
All right. So I'm trying to think. I didn't have very much of a full story for Spell 3. I viewed it more as we were facing a very fast, like wind or base Mamodo. I don't know who exactly. I don't. Not necessarily the first guy, but maybe them, and maybe that this is what happens to them. But it's Yuki Ru, which pretty much causes snow to envelop the Mamodo, and it's one of those enhancement spells. This causes Ymir to have a massive increase in speed, and I view it as this allows him to catch up with this other Mamodo and defeat them instead of being slow and constantly under attack. I guess I would go with maybe that this is how we defeat the Wind guy from the first episode and then the later one.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. And some of you might be thinking, none of your spells really work for burning books. But one, it was kind of shown that any type of spell can burn the book if it hits hard enough. And two, it's also revealed, well, if a Momodo takes enough damage, their book will start to burn. Or also, if a Momodo takes enough damage, they die. I don't know how one distinguishes the other, but go figure.
I guess maybe if they take too much damage before their book is completely destroyed, but yeah, they don't really do a good job explaining it.
No, I'm sure somebody who's read the manga might be able to answer, but I don't know. I did come up with one kind of funny thing about her, though.
Okay.
We're in the park one day, and I hear her screaming. I'm like, oh my god, another Mamodo. This is dangerous. And she's just like, just get in the way. And I'm like, what? And I just see a butterfly fly by. It's like, what? That's what you're scared of? And she's like, is it a Mamodo? It's a Mamodo of some kind. I'm like, no, it's just a butterfly. Butterfly. And she's like, just get in the way. I'm just like, so are you gonna tell me why you're scared of? Did something happen? She's just like, no, they just freaked me out. And I just bluntly say, there's no reason, and you're scared of them. And you called me the idiot. And this is at the point where we're both kind of. She's a little more mischievous at this point, and we're able to mess with each other a little more, even if she's still a little cold.
All right.
She doesn't like butterflies.
Is it just butterflies, or is it like all insects, like Misty or something?
Just butterflies.
Um, yeah, because I've had my character live in the same town as Kyo and all that, and of course being uh, roughly the same age for the Mamodo as Zatch, so I guess about 6.
No, same here.
I did have that he has a run-in with Naomi. It's more that she almost has one of those like schoolhouse crushes on him because he's so much different from Zatch, but that's he just keeps ignoring her is pretty much, and actually goes and hangs out with Zatch whenever he goes to the park.
All that the whole time I thought it was going to be revealed that she was a Mamodo. I'm like, oh no, she's just some butt ugly, horrible child.
It kind of changes her relationship later on. Like what at first she keeps trying to win Ymir to come hang out with her and I guess her friends or her lackeys, whatever they are.
I hated all of them, so I didn't pay attention if they did have names.
But they eventually she starts trying to do the same things that she does to Zatch to Ymir, and he just is able to like put his foot on the front of her car and stop it.
Oh my
It's
god.
like, he's just like, Zatch, you're super strong. You do know you could stop this thing, right?
No, I thought the same thing. And every time I watched the episode, I'm like, Kyo, can you just like sack hair this girl out of existence, please?
But Zatch has got to have a normal human person that's able to bully him, apparently.
No. I guess speaking of normal characters, maybe we should talk about Kyo and his insane classmates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we know my personal favorite human character, Susie, correct?
Yes.
Do you know that she's a terrible cook?
I remember that I think they talked about that a little bit in the first season.
Yeah. I have Rikioka loving Susie's cooking. Everybody else is passing out from it, and she's like, "Can I have more, please?" Everybody just dumps their plate on hers. She keeps seeing it. She's like, "Is that it?" Because Mamodo can eat like crazy.
Mamodo, I don't really think has too much of a relationship with Susie. Mine is more that I was trying to recruit Kyo because, of course, Kyo is the super smart guy. It's just like, so my high school really wanted him to join, and it's like, oh yeah, Susie. I mean, if you're interested, we do have a cooking club and all that, and she's more, what about a fruit club and all that? And like,
I would let her do it. I would let her just like, you know what, fruit club, sure. She'll be the only person in it, but like it counts for something.
Yeah, but it's one of those I just don't quite understand. But like, I mean, after your freshman year, you can probably start creating your own club if you want. We allow that. I guess you could create that if you want, if you come to our school.
Oh my goodness. And I feel like I feel like I don't know. That's the crazy thing because apparently I don't know how much of a spoiler this is, but it's revealed at one point that Susie wants to be a nurse, and I feel like I feel like Mamoto would just bluntly say beforehand, like she doesn't seem smart enough to want to be a nurse. I'm just like, huh. I didn't want to say it out loud, but you might be right on that. And Susie starts crying over it, and I just tell her you could say something nicer, and she just sort of pats her on the back, but doesn't say anything. Just sort of stares at her and doesn't say anything. I'm just like, we'll work on that later.
Yes. I have a feeling like you're able to just get Susie to stop crying, and Ymir might say something along the lines, "Isn't she the one that got lost in the hospital?" And I go, "Yes, but that's not a nice thing to say."
Yeah, I feel like Ymir is like you guys talk before he says something insensitive. If Rikioka, she just says something insensitive, and I'm just like, this is why we don't say that. And she never fully understands.
Yeah, Ymir, I feel like has uh, more of a sense of normalcy, but he's still kind of got that kid. He might say on an occasion the wrong thing or incorrect thing because he's still that young age. But
Yeah. And I guess we should also talk about Tia and Megumi.
yeah, so I did have for how we meet her. It's almost stealing from Zatch his meaning of Tia, but uh, I had that Ymir is, of course, as I said, obsessed with music, and he gets obsessed with Megumi's music one time and insists that I take him to a concert. So uh, I take them there, and they're actually attacked by the Dark Mamodo that I've been fighting, and uh, pretty much we actually unlock our fourth spell in this case, which is Yuki Shield. So it's our shield spell. It doesn't reflect or anything. It just pretty much gets more and more like a dense wall of snow every single time it takes a hit. But it's similar to Zatch's. It forms kind of a wall right in front of you, and that's it. So it can be avoided.
Okay, yeah. And I think there you remember the Mamodo cut and paste, correct?
Yes.
All right. Hey, honestly, he was kind of one of my favorite Mamodo, but we end up going up against him him. And one of the things and at this point, it's kind of, we're struggling. We're struggling at this point because most of our spells aren't working. But it's where at the point where she kind of goes, I think I want to be a kind king. I don't necessarily know if I want to, if I, for the same reasons as everybody else, because she kind of likes fighting, but it's in the sense of everyone else is miserable. Well, and in the end, she does also kind of realize the first person who wanted to be nice to me was Kalulu. So when I get back, I want to have a smile. I want to show her the smile on my face I have now. And that's when we learn the fourth spell, Barudo Kemu Yokai. And the second I'm about to say it, she freezes up. She's like, "Please don't." I'm like, "What? Don't say the spell." Oh, I'm like, "Are you sure? Can we just run while we have the chance?" And I just say the first spell, and we run off. And at first, I don't. It takes so we learn the spell, but she doesn't tell me at first why we shouldn't use it. We learn that a little bit later down the line.
Okay.
But we run off, and at this point, we still have burned a handful of books. We've sent some Mamodo back, but only where it's like, you guys are pains in the neck, and you're not going to stop, and you're horrible people. But we also meet Yopopo.
Okay.
Yeah, and at first, while we do the usual thing of rock paper scissors to see if we attack, we don't finish them off. But as the next day, after we get home, I come home and I walk in and I see her doing the dance, the Yopopo dance. She stares at me and she just says, "You saw nothing," and I'm like, "Got it."
Oh God. I thought when I was rewatching this, just to speak on this, I thought Yopopo was more in this series than he was.
I didn't.
I don't know why. I must have seen this episode. It must have been on a few times when I was a kid or something because I remember this dance, or I know it was used in the advertising at one point. So,
Well, it's kind of hard to ignore. So, yeah.
but just to end mine though, real quick, we're able to help Tia and Megumi drive off the Dark Mamodo, and then, but we don't defeat him. He doesn't defeat us, and it's kind of it ends in another draw. But he threatens that he'll be back, and he knows who Mamodo is and all that.
Yeah. Getting back to Tia and Megumi, I feel like they're always trying to take our shot because it's because they're nice people, but they kind of jokingly say, "Well, it can't be fun hang with a boy all the time," and she's kind of think with a man all the time. She's like, "I don't really think of Alex as a man." I'm like, "Thank you," and Tia just says, "That's not supposed to be a compliment, is it?" But at the same, while she's a bit uncomfortable about it, she does kind of realize this is fun. I'm enjoying myself. But she also kind of grows to like Tia more when she realizes Tia just starts strangling Zatch because she's like, "Oh, she's tough. I like that."
All right. Uh, Ymir, I think at first is a little jealous of Tia because, as I said, being obsessed with music and specifically Megumi at that time, the fact that Tia gets to be the Mamodo of a music sensation, he's like, just like, just kind of that kind of funny jealousy of uh, being angry, but also just a little disappointed. It's like, it's all right, man.
So,
I'm here, but he's like, I don't want you here. I'm like,
oh, so wait, maybe we should hang out sometime.
I just end up in the corner. It's not that he hates me. It's just that he wishes that I was a member of the band or something else, not swim, the opposite of his element.
Yeah. But we also meet up with Dr. Riddles and Kiddo. Oh, and she doesn't. I'm sorry. I'm realizing Dr. Riddles and Kiddo might be my favorite characters just through my rewatch because she's very similar to Kiddo in the sense of whenever Dr. Riddles says kidding, she kind of doesn't know how to respond to it. But we also end up going up against a really powerful Mamodo, and it looks like we're all going to die. So she's like, "Fourth spell." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Or this time, I promise. Fourth spell. Well, and I cast the spell, and it summons a smoke spirit, Enenra.
Okay.
Yeah. It shoots out of her body, but she falls completely unconscious over it. Okay, and it attacks very similar to Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho, the dragon in his arm. It chases and it'll destroy just about anything in its path. but once it starts running out of but the longer it's out, it starts running out of power. But when she finally learns to control it, because that's the main thing that she could never do in the Mamodo world, she's able to bring it back and gain some and get some power back from it. But it's a spell that we learn, but we don't use until much later into the series because it kind of traumatizes her.
It Since it's a spirit, it has its own kind of uh, mind and stuff though as well. I guess because you said she loses control, right?
Yeah.
So okay, yeah, I didn't go that way with our spells because it felt like that was not every Mamodo has some big spirit one. I know Zatch has got the bow dragon stuff, so one or two having something like this can work, but too many ends up being like a feels like it would be too much.
But I'm the one person who decided to do that, so it's okay for me.
Um, so I have my next spell actually involves us meeting Braco and Sherry. So pretty much, I was traveling for a swim meet, and uh, Ymir comes with us, and we're pretty much partway through the competition. My school's doing pretty well, and then uh, Sherry and Brago show up to pretty much do what they always do, which is just destroy books. They don't seem to have a focus on whether you're good or bad. It's just at this point, it's we're destroying books. Um, with their Brago's gravity magic, we're really far, kind of behind the eight ball on this. We keep, no matter what, even with the extra speed and all that, we still keep getting slowed down and beaten back. And that's kind of when the fifth spell, um, Rahia Yuki Arashi, which literally forms a giant snowstorm that creates whiteout conditions. Um, it severely hampers non-ice type Mamodo, and but when we combine it with my third spell, the Yuru Yukiru, which envelops the snow, it allows Ymir to pretty much disappear into the snow, and we use that to just escape. Don't we decide not to continue the fight, and we actually run away at this point because
What is with our Mamodo and running away from fights?
I don't know. In this case, it was just we don't have a spell that's really strong enough to defeat Brago and Sherry.
I don't think anybody does.
Probably not, because Brago was one of the what was it, Legendary 3 or
Well, he finished number 2.
but okay, so but I forgot. There's some sort of title apparently for like the top 3 or whatever.
Sure, I guess. Yeah, honestly, I didn't have a whole lot for Brago and Sherry. I kind of just I feel like all three of them think I'm an idiot, but but my Mamoto Rikioka, she's like, yeah, but he's kind of my idiot. He kind of has to look over me in some cases. And then when we finally meet my parents, they're like, oh wow, wow, what? Do you have a little sister with you? And she's like, he's not my he's not my big brother. Like we very much have a from Shadows of War Ratbag and Talion relationship, with me being Ratbag, the best character. And my parents say, hey, man, if you want a little sister, or your mother and I could have helped with that. And I'm just like, no, don't ever say that again. And she just said, and my mother just says, what's she talking about? I'm like, I'll tell you when you're older. But older.
Yeah, my parents pretty much. Again, I guess I live with them. I didn't really think about that part, but they're just kind of here. We are, or you, how to put it? They're randomly cool with me bringing in this random kid that can make snow out of his mouth, and I just randomly like it. I don't know why. It's very much like Kyo's mom. I guess she got a call from his dad, but other than that, I can't think of why.
Yeah, I don't even think if she fully knows what's going on, which kind of makes her a worse parent. But what like we said, if they couldn't live with us, this video would have been over super quick. But I guess we have to talk about. I didn't have her interacting with very many of the ancient Mamodo, despite how easy it would have been to say Victorine. But I feel like she would jump in the Victorine dance like everybody else.
Of course, it's the Victorine dance. Barry Mellon.
Yeah.
It's the best song in the entire series.
Yeah. Yeah. At the same time, though, she is always asking Kyo, "Do you want to switch? Like he takes Zatch and you take me." And Kyo seriously considers taking her up on. I'm like, God, I'm like, please stop.
It- I mean, I kind of talked about that being with Megumi. Eventually, when we meet Fulgori and Kanchime, does he again gets jealous of Kanchime being with a music superstar. It's strange that there are two Mamodo partnered with superstars of music in this world, but
And we haven't gotten a single duet with either of with them.
oh, with them singing together, I was
Yes.
really confused. I was like, because Kanchime and Fulgori sing together all the time.
No. I meant Megumi and Fulgore.
Maybe that'll happen whenever we get Zatch Bell 2's anime.
Yeah. At the same time, though, well, I like to think we don't see the cast all the time, but we do see them enough to where it's like, oh no, they're not that much of a hassle. Well, even at the point where it's like, I should probably stick around Kyo just in case we have to go over anything. And so I infiltrate the school, and my Mamodo follows me, and I'm just like, you were supposed to stay home. And she's like, I got bored. The TV wasn't working. And I'm like, no, the remote's just out of batteries. I told you this. And she's like, I wasn't listening. And she meets Kane, and he's like, hey, you want to go find some dinosaurs? And usually she'd be like, no, but this time she's like, sure, let's do it. It and then when they get back, she's like, we didn't find any dinosaurs. Why didn't you tell us? I'm like, you believed Kane. Kane.
Oh god, I got the with Kane. I like okay. Well, I again, as I talked about being older, I'm helping try to recruit new students to the school, and Kane is one of those that's like, I don't know if I can get you into the school. I mean, we have a boxing club that you might be able to join, or I mean, like Susie, you could form your dinosaur hunter group after your freshman year. But other than that, I don't know. Um, your grades are a little low with that.
There was that one episode
zero.
where it's like, hey, you all got zeros. Well, that's the last time I cheat off you, Kane. Hey, at least Kane knew to write his name on the test. You didn't even get that far.
I can see myself because that was Hiroyoshi, right? That didn't write his name.
I think yeah, the baseball guy.
Yeah, I could see myself showing up and being like on that episode and being very angry on that because I have already recruited him to join the high school for the baseball team, and it's like you've got a zero and didn't write your name, and
Yep.
I just dragged Kyo in with me. It's like he's tutoring you.
And I feel like Kyo would snap at that point and be like, yeah, absolutely, I promise nothing. Nothing. And at the same time, the school setting was bizarre because everybody in that school was insane except, I can't even say except Kyo, because Kyo could be crazy sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any interactions with Kyo's teacher or Kyo's teacher's wife?
I feel like she kind of gets nervous around his teacher's wife, but at the same time, I come home one day and but I come home before her. I'm like, where were you? It's like, oh, I was hanging out with the teacher's wife. I'm like, why? And she's just like, we kind of connected. And by the way, why do you guys keep calling her wife? You know she has a name, right? I'm just like, feel free to tell me. And she's like, she wouldn't want you to know. but she says it kind of with a smile on her face, like, and I'm like, you're messing with me, aren't you? She's like, yes, I am. Good night.
Yeah, I could see myself being the former student of the teacher and just being one of those that's like, I don't know, you get used to the fact that he brings his wife to work with him. I don't really have any explanation for it, but he was doing it before Kyo. That's why Kyo got away with Zatch.
She just sort of shows up from the looks of it. She's. I wish I could say she's the strangest character, but Mrs. Wriggle, and no, I have nothing for Mrs. Wriggle. Like I said, that episode broke me.
I didn't get to that episode, so I can't
I don't
answer.
think you need. I don't think you need to. In all honesty, the episode of Sonic X where they play baseball for Chaos Emerald somehow makes more sense.
It's Zatch Bell, so that's not necessarily saying much, unfortunately.
Yeah, but we did talk before, and I did say I gave Mamodo 6 spells, but I've only said 5 of them.
Well, before that, I guess we need to talk. Unless
Cut me off, okay?
sorry, I just wanted to talk about the final kind of main cast member of the friends from school, and that was Mamoru, the alien guy.
Oh, joy.
Again, he's another one. He failed, but this is actually the one club that my high school has that's already ready for him to join, and that's literally the Alien Club. So he's already being recruited by them. So I just like, oh yeah, if he can pass the class, which I don't know if he can, but he has a place in my high school already. He's already got his club all picked out and everything.
Yeah, I feel like the most that happens for her is for Rikioka. She's just like, why is he trying to find aliens? Why? And I'm like, why were you trying to find dinosaurs? And she's like, there's more proof dinosaurs exist than aliens do. And I'm like, yeah, she got me there.
All right. Now I think that covers everybody from the school that's, I guess, needed to be talked about at this point.
Yeah. But the last spell we learned in our tenure, and she learns, is Kemaruk. Look, it surrounds her body completely in smoke, and she's able to fight off and just. It's similar to Zatch's 6th spell. Like, she's able to fight people off. The only kind of thing that she kind of learns this when she realizes I can't just fight with my partner. I can fight alongside Zatch and everybody else. And the thing is, she's actually able to, if she channels it just the right amount, she's able to use it on other Mamodo. So if Kanchome is getting messed up, she can transfer it to him, but she can't, but only one person at a time, because I can't have it be like the Nine Tails chakra where everybody gets it.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting support spell, which is very rare. I mean, I really only remember Tia getting a lot of them so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to base some of this off Infamous Second Son because I'm like, I don't know a lot of people with smoke-based powers besides Delson. So let me do some stuff that's original. Let me do some stuff that borrows a tad bit.
Okay. All right. So I get my or we get our 6th spell, which is Rahia or Oryuki Akusuda, which is pretty much our kind of ultimate big power spell that it uses snow to form a like 50-foot axe that mimics what Mamodo does. So it allows and just kind of allows him to pretty much freeze or destroy anything it touches. So I kind of see this kind of unlocking early on in the Ancient Mamodo arc when they get to the jungle, and he literally freezes a massive swath of the jungle using it during part 1 of the battles.
Yeah, I can see that. I do appreciate you bringing the axe back.
Yeah. Well, and I think we kind of both talked about this, that the way in the anime they talk about it is the spells have levels, but they're considered new spells.
Sort of.
And I considered that with at least spell 1 and 2 of mine, the the Snow Blast and then the first Snow Axe, that there are different levels, and it pretty much, again, just a powerful blast, but with the way the axe changes, is it kind of like, it changes to like, for kind of just different types of axes. So like, as I said, it's first a hatchet, but then it like become a battle axe and then a war axe. So just different sizes of axe. It's what he gets, is unlocks new versions of that spell.
So if they ever do the running gag of, oh, you can take my weapon, and then one guy says, and my axe, technically that works in this case.
Exactly.
All right, so if your Mamodo makes it, it can become an actor.
Yeah. But I viewed that this spell unlocked kind of during, as I said, an early battle against, in the Ancient Mamodo arc, that is actually against the Dark Mamodo, and this is where he defeats the Mamodo, and he kind of, Ymir kind of reaches his new goal, which is to see a kind king crowned. He doesn't necessarily want to be king, but he wants to fight to make sure that the next Mamodo king is a kind king.
Exactly. That's kind of the same for me. But Rikioka is also kind of like, if I become king, that's kind of fine with me. And it's at this point where I kind of start to realize, if she wins, then she's gone. I mean, of course, if she loses, she's gone, but it might just seem easier. A tiny voice in my head kind of tells me maybe it would be easier if we just don't fight, so she could stay. But then I kind of quickly think to myself, no, that wouldn't be right. I'd be holding her back from what she wants to do. I can't do that.
Well, kind of speaking of that mentality, did you have any interactions with Shion and her Mamodo?
Not her Mamodo, but I did have something with Shihan, but I was gonna save that for a little bit later.
Okay, then we don't know.
Yeah. And also I also at this point realize like she's gotten a lot kinder. She doesn't necessarily, she's still kind of the same person, but she's also like willing to pick up on easily able to pick up on people's feelings and kind of understand when stuff's going on. Kind of like how in Chobits, that episode where Hideki was almost drowning in work, but she made him dinner when he got home that night.
Okay.
Yeah, I get home one day, she's just like, here, and I'm like, a milkshake? She's like, yeah, I tried my best, but it's okay, you don't have to try. And I'm like, I really appreciate this. I take a sip and I'm like, what type of milkshake is this? He's like, well, Mamodo's favorite food is fish, so that. I'm like, and I think to myself, well, I can't not finish it. I'll hurt her feelings. And I finish it, and I'm just like, I really do appreciate that. And so she's like, you can and she's like, I'm glad. And then she finally says, you can go to the bathroom if you do. I'm like, yeah, thank you. I appreciate. I love you. Thank you.
As I said, Ymir and I usually get pretty well along, but whenever it's talking about Folgore or Megumi, he gets so jealous and just doesn't want any to do with anything with me. It's just his jealousy and his love of music. It's like, why did I get partnered with someone who isn't a musician?
About to say, how would our Mamodo interact?
Oh, that is interesting. I don't know.
I feel like we meet later when she slowly starts to get a little bit nicer, and your Mamodo kind of recognizes her. And while he didn't run away from her, he is kind of like, I don't really know that much about her, and she's just kind of like want to play, and she's holding up like a shovel because she's making a sandcastle or something. Like he doesn't really seem to understand, He's like, I don't really get her, and I whisper, trust me, I don't always either, but she's trying.
Yeah. Does your Mamodo play in that park that I talked about earlier, or are you somewhere else in town?
As long as there are no butterflies, yes.
Okay. Does she have any interactions with Naomi, or is it more of just like she is able to ignore Naomi by comparison?
No, whenever she sees Naomi, the rare time she sees Naomi picking on Zach, that's kind of when the scariness comes out, and she runs away. And Zach just like, can you stay, please? And she's just like, I really should. It's like, I should get home, but 5 more minutes.
Uh, I did have a idea for an interaction with Ymir and Polygon, and it's just against a random Mamodo that is randomly attacks us, and this would be before we got the third spell that allowed Mamodo to move super fast, and he literally rides Polygon in with his axe to defeat the Mamodo.
I kind of want to see that.
It was stupid, but it was one of those that it has to happen. It's like, and I don't know, maybe not. I guess probably a plant-based Mamodo for that one. Just
Yeah. I believe there might have been one early on when Zatch and Keo went to I'm not going to pretend like I know the term for it.
the botanical garden. Yeah, no, I
There we
remember.
go.
Yeah, there's that, but that was before I think I had my characters meet. As I said, we meet in a really a later time, or because we meet, I guess, kind of when Keo and Zatch are in London and visiting Keo's dad.
Yeah.
So that would be about the summertime, if I'm not mistaken, in the
Uh,
series. So
and Susie thinks she's going to Hong Kong, and she's like, "Oh, I was in Hong Kong and I got this stuff." Like, no, you were. Oh my gosh.
hey, let her think where she won. That way she doesn't get the other free trip to go to Hong Kong that she was supposed to have.
I swear that girl makes my head hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah. But obviously, look, as much as we might want to change, as much as we might want to do things, Zatch still has to become king in the end. And sadly, that does mean our book ends up getting burnt. But we take out it's closer towards the end where we're taking out a large group of enemies, but our book's starting to burn. She's just like, well, and she kind of strictly tells me the biggest spell one more time, and I use the fourth spell, kind of at the point where she's really able to control it. Everybody else is defeated, but our book gets burnt. And she doesn't say a whole lot, and I'm breaking down. I've lost somebody who's one of my closest friends, and when I get home one day, I go into the little room she's been in, and I read like a stack of papers. Turns out she's been journaling stuff, and she's just been journaling stuff like, oh, I met somebody, and he's not scared of butterflies. What an idiot! It starts off like that, but towards the end, she's like, and if you end up reading this, whether we win or whether we don't, I guess part of you was helpful in me becoming stronger, and you were a pretty good big brother, you know that? And that's kind of when I'm like, she's gone, but I can't. I'm not gonna erase her memory. Like I hang up a picture of the two of us together, and that's when I meet Shion and everybody else. It's like, yeah, we've lost Mamodo too, but we fought. It's kind of a support group type of thing. We keep up with each other and that sort of thing.
exactly. I kind of viewed Ymir kind of taking on a role of maybe guard or knight to the next Mamodo king is kind of his mindset as towards the end, and I could see him surviving very close to the end, and I guess sacrificing himself to save Zatch from one of Zeno's attacks or something, and towards the end of the series, and allows pretty much his goodbye to Zatch is that I've done this because I believe you should be the kind king I've been decided needs to be crowned, and I will serve you as best as I can. And then to me, he's like his last thing is to hand me a mix CD or something based on the time frame.
I thought you. Please don't tell me it's of him singing.
No, it's just his favorite songs, but uh, I hand him one last thing, and it's MP3 with batteries, and it said Zach should be able to charge it up for you when he gets back as king.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, as much as I hate it, I did. Like I said, I had to think of what happens when we say goodbye.
Ours is again, I wanted to break in that music, and it's one of those that we knew we would say goodbye soon since mine's going by towards so close to the end already. But I kind of viewed that Ymir really wanted, I guess, based on the time frame that this seems to be taking place in, CDs are a big thing, but MP3s are starting to come out. And I was like, since he's obsessed with music, he keeps asking for one, but I haven't been able to get him one, and this is kind of my goodbye.
Yeah, yeah. But since you talked about what he does in the Mamodo world, well, Rikioka actually ends up meeting Kalulu again, and Kalulu said, "You know, I saw everything, and I think you were really cool down there." And she finally kind of admits, "You know, you're part of the reason. My part, my partner's great and everything, but you kind of helps me realize that that you can still be kind with everything." And they become incredibly close. I actually also had them getting close with Penny, but just because I think it would be a really weird dynamic. But while she's talking about Zatch, she's like, Ricky kind of doesn't understand. This was like, and she's just like, so you followed him and tried to win his heart. She's like, that's right. And it's like, oh, I don't. And she kind of thinks to herself, I don't understand romance.
Yeah, from what I remember, because Penny is kind of a bad guy, but also I don't know. It's such a weird dynamic. It's been so long since I've seen the Age of Mamoto arc.
If it wasn't for her, they would all be dead. So I'd like to think she became a good guy in the end.
All right, yeah, I can kind of see that, and that would be a kind of an interesting one to throw in on the relationship with, seeing as she had those darker tendencies at one point as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they both have darker tendencies, but they're also both incredibly close with Kalulu, who's the sweetest person. And yeah, I have my Mamodo being really, really close with really, really close with Kalulu. Whether anybody wants to interpret that as just a straight up sisterhood or friendship, or as they get older or romance, that's up to you. That's your choice. Not that's up to y'all.
But do you have anything for the Zatch 2? Because I don't know any of the story that's happened in there. So
I know just slightly more, but the only thing I'd have is because people are reuniting with their Mamodo, and the Mamodo age, like I want to say 10 or 12, like 13 years, while the humans age about maybe 5 years or so. Well, I would have it be a case if I see her again, it's like Rikioka, and I just hug her, and she's like, "Geez, you're still alive." But she hugs me, and but she has a smile on her face. She's happy to see me after all these years. So I'm like, all right. And I even say, I'll make you a Ricky special, because Penny's guardian or her partner became a chef. I said, the Ricky special. It's like, what's this? It's like, oh, it's a milkshake with fish in it. Yeah, we named it after you. And she's like, I'm touched. And then she finally says, oh, yeah, when we celebrated yesterday. I'm like, what do you mean yesterday? And she said, well, the three of us, Kalulu and Penny, and she says, we celebrated. Your birthday was yesterday. We had a celebration about it. I'm like, really? And she's like, don't cry. I'm gonna cry. Don't cry. We're still opposites, but you can tell we're still close at that point.
I didn't have a since I don't know like why the Mamodo are returning or anything. I haven't had a chance to think of like a good reason for us reuniting.
When Zatch Bell 2 gets far enough, maybe we'll do a sequel and maybe we'll start to follow it. But that's all I had for Zatch Bell 2, because it's still relatively early.
Exactly. This is one of those series that I really keep hoping that every year that I'll hear that might get a remake or a redo for the anime that will at least complete it based on how the creator wanted it done.
Especially with all the stuff you heard about him going through, I want it to be something good. I still want it to be goofy, because the dub makes my head hurt sometimes in a way I can't quite explain but still enjoy. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this anime come back.
Exactly, and then a video game based on where you get to create your own Mamodo and all that would be amazing.
Yeah. Admittedly, I don't have as much ammunition for that type of video as I would as Naruto or Zatch Bell or something. Naruto or Zatch Bell, Naruto or Dragon Ball or something like that. But I'm open. I'm open to talking about our own concepts for an anime game. I'm open for doing that once we get our schedules figured out.
Exactly. So, but do you have any last minute things you wanted to talk about for your character?
No, She starts off as somebody who's feared by a lot of people, but slowly opens up over time to enjoy the world, and while she's still kind of awkward in some phases, she grows to be a happier person. Just don't let her make you any milkshakes.
And again, I have Ymir being very much controlled by his singular goal to kind of just start with revenge against this evil Mamodo versus and slowly growing to use that to be more along the lines of wanting to make sure the next person crowned is the right person or the right Mamodo.
Exactly. And like you said, once Zatch Bell 2 gets a little further, if he wants to do a sequel, maybe we will.
Yeah, I'll have to, I guess, read the manga because I guess that's the only, from what I understand, that's the only way to figure out anything here.
Well, it would be the fastest way.
So, all right. You ready to close on out?
Let's do it. So, ladies, gentlemen, and others, which Mamodo did you like? Or did you like both of them? If you've ever thought about being in Zatch Bell, what type of Mamodo would you have? Their powers, backstory, dynamics, just anything. Let us know how you're feeling about these creative videos, because you guys seem to like them, but we need validation.
Yeah, do you think that we need to have any different relationships with any of the other characters? Is there other villains you want to see our Mamodos fight? Just tell us what you think down there.
Yes. And let us know whose Mamodo did you like more, mine or Richard's? Mine. But still, just let us know. Oh, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that other nonsense. And we'll see you next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy. Zach Hare.